how important is it to listen to your body? I heard two different trains of thought on this. And hear me out.
Okay.
On the one hand, I heard someone or many people talk to the effect of how important it is, something along the lines of your body never lies. Meaning.
That's a book.
Is it a book?
That's a book.
Okay, no, it's probably a book too.
Or the body keeps the score.
Sure, it's all the same thing.
We all read that. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So something to the effect of, in our brains and our minds, we could get into twisted stuff trying to convince ourselves that, what we're doing is, who we're dating is good for us, blah, 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 blah. But if you wake up in the morning and your heart is racing, there's something going on and your body doesn't lie. That's one train of thought. Meaning, listen to it, get in tune with it, get in touch with it, and do something about it. Figure out what is it about my life that's causing my chest to feel heavy, for me to not be able to catch my breath.
I remember that phone call.
Yes.
I remember when you called me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's one train of thought. The other train of thought, and I heard actually quite a well-known, I forget her name, a well-known, I think therapist, psychotherapist, whatever. And she was talking to people like you, like me, like probably most of us, people who come from broken backgrounds, people who probably don't see the world, not you, I don't want to talk about you, but like me, who probably have a long way. It's a lifelong journey of seeing things straight, and really seeing reality as it is, and working through things. So she was saying, you're a person who's not whole looking to become whole. You are the last person whose feelings you should trust, because trusting your own feelings, because the way you see in other words, if you're someone who's looking to see the world better than the way you see it today, trusting your own self right now while you don't see the world the way you want to doesn't really make sense. You should trust other people who see it the right way. So for instance, if someone shows up to your office and they're dealing with deep stuff, on the one hand, this lady is saying they should probably be the last person whose feelings they should trust, because if they did, they would stay an alcoholic, or they would whatever. So where do you fall with those two train of thoughts? Like how do you see that? Like, should everyone listen to their own feelings, or are some people's feelings just flat out wrong, and being aware that they're wrong,
could be really helpful.
It could be helpful. Could be helpful.
Yeah. I think it depends. Just like every person is different, every client is different. It all depends.
I'll take that as an answer.
Please do. I can be more specific about it, being just that, like some people are they have that weight on their chest every morning. They wake up and something is wrong and they don't know what it is, or they don't have the emotional awareness or the vocabulary to figure out what's wrong or to understand, right? Something's wrong. So they ask all their friends for advice. It's like, oh, is this the right color? They ask every single friend, but every time they get an answer, it still doesn't make them feel more secure in that answer or that decision, right? And every time they put on that dress, it brings anxiety, because they're like, oh, I should have gotten the green, maybe? I'm not sure. And so for me, like when I was developing my own identity, like that's kind of what I did. I leaned on other people for their advice. But now, years later, after I've slowly exited a lot of those people from my life, I realized that, I was asking the opinions of people that I, in the end, didn't really want to be like. They weren't living according to values that I found important to me. Right. And so it's like, who's judging here? Like, I should have trusted my emotions, but there were so many emotions that I couldn't tell which ones to trust.
Got it.
Or what they meant, right? Ooh.
So you had to find another voice, but another voice of reason, I guess.
Basically.
To basically make sense out of all of what you're feeling.
I needed a therapist. I
love it.
Someone who was literally trained to basically say, like, okay, that actually is normal. Don't go down this anxiety spiral around this question you've been having or this feeling. You feeling this way is totally fucking justified. Like, you've been really stressed out, and here, after you've told me your story, like, here's this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason. Look at all this shit you're dealing with. Of course you feel stressed out.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, fuck. Like, I didn't think about that. Yeah. Like, I should feel really stressed out right now. And that's okay. Because once I've defined it, and once I know I have these words for it to describe it, I can start to kind of say, like, okay, well, all these things are stressing me out. So let's figure out how to, like, make this one less stressful, right?
Yeah.
How do I make this one just disappear as a problem entirely? Like, how do I cut off my mom, right? How do I move closer to my job?
Do you think there's times where cutting off your mom is the right thing to do?
I think about my mom and that decision every single day.
What do you mean by think about it? Like, you're not sure if it's good or bad?
No, I just think about my mom. I just think about, like, that need. That need is an animal one.
For your mom?
For my mom. Like, I always had that. We always have that.
Uh-huh.
There's someone to give us these certain things. That's a biological need. That is a hole, in me at least. This is how I'm defining my experience, right? But in me, it was a need. I was always aware of what wasn't being fulfilled in my life. And I remember being a very, very small child and being very, very aware that I could not trust my mom and I could not trust my dad, and that I was not getting the experience that I was owed.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I grew up angry, frustrated, depressed, very, very driven, and really hopeful. I read a lot. That's also why I was really fucking weird. Like, I was a weird kid.
Were you?
Yeah, I was a weird adult too. Like, I'm still a little weird. Like, some people can tell. Like, they can tell. They're like, yeah, I see it.
If you guys think she's weird, comment below.
Oh my God, what is this? Don't hurt me. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, that need was there. And that need was never fulfilled. And I wrote my mom letters ever since I was like 9. And I have some copies of these letters. And years later, I compiled them all and I looked at them and I was like, oh my God, like, I was writing the same thing when I was like 9 as I was when I was 11 and 15 and 18. And my breakup letter to my mom when I was 26 or 27 or something, or 28. Yeah, I was writing the same thing. And it was all just
your mom a breakup letter?
Yeah. It was all, like, it was the same thing. Like, since I was 9, the 9-year-old one said the same thing. And it was like, hey, when you do these things, it makes me feel this way. And for me to be able to find fulfillment in our relationship, for me to be able to love you and feel safe around you, I need you to stop doing these things. Like, stop manipulating me. Stop using me. Like, start providing for me. Like, don't make me feel bad for feeling hungry.
Right.
Don't challenge whether or not I'm deserving to eat. Like, don't make me feel like things that I've purchased with my own money, you can take away and use because you want them.
Right.
Like, don't make me feel like you're more deserving or I'm more deserving. And yeah.
How much of growing up in that environment scared you, in the sense of you repeating all that with a partner someday?
Oh my God, Joel. Oh my God. I'm scared every day. Every day. I knew from a young age, I was like, if I have kids, and I can tell you right now, it does. I don't know if any of my siblings are going to have children. Like,
why?
The way that we were raised, like,
you're all terrified.
We're all terrified. Yeah.
I don't blame it.
And even as a kid, like, I wrote in my like journal in social studies at like age like 11 or whatever, like, I don't want children, I want dogs. Like, but I've known that if I do have kids, like, I'm going to need parenting classes. I'm going to need help. I'm going to need to be married to a partner who can help and has family and parents who can help, because I do not have the coping skills. Like, and I'm sure that there are coping. I don't know anything about children. I didn't study children's psychology. Children are strange little beings.
Oh, they're so weird.
Little drunks wandering around.
So
like, weird. And yeah, I love them and I want them and I love them. I see them and I love them. And
you're terrified.
Yeah, they might not be in my future. But I mean, there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done just because I wasn't ever raised in an environment where I felt safe or nourished or cared for or loved.
Did you figure out a way to, other than what you just mentioned, which is parenting classes and stuff, did you kind of forget kids, let's say relationship wise, right? I can confidently say that growing up, there's a lot about my parents and their dynamic with each other that as a 10, 12, 14-year-old, I vividly remember kind of not questioning, but being afraid that I will repeat all that with my partners. And a few times in life with my own partners and my own relationships, I have. Yeah. And I think it's natural as much as it is. I think it's natural as much as it is something that we should be aware of. But did you find that in your relationships with people that you sort of go, holy shit, I'm my mom right now, or I'm my dad?
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's kind of the cliche at this point. Yeah. Everyone feels that way at some point. They feel like, oh my God, I'm my parent, right?
How do you deal with it?
Excuse me. Proactively. So I was married. I was married for like 5 years or something.
Yeah.
And at one point, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was insight of my husband at the time. But at some point I was like, you know what it was? I was reading blogs. I was reading blogs about like relationships with mothers because I'd gone back to America or the United States to visit my family briefly. And the first moment that I stepped off the plane, like I was there, my mother already had me in tears. Just a mean person sometimes. And I was just trying to figure out like what is going on in our relationship. And I was reading like this, and I cannot, from my own lens, from my own perspective, I cannot diagnose someone that I have known intimately or emotionally had a connection with. Like, I just can't do it, right? Not just ethically, but it's impossible for me to do because I have my own emotions around it, right? But I was reading this blog on like being raised with a borderline mother or a narcissistic mother or something. And there are like all these behaviors listed, like they invite only their friends to your birthday party, or they always give themselves bigger gifts than they give you when it's a gift for you, or something like that on Christmas. So interesting. Yeah. And I was just like, oh my fucking God. Like, yeah, my mom was all of these, right? All of these were happening to me. And then I was like, I'm doing all of these to my partner. Like all of them.
God, that must be so terrifying to realize. It was
so awful because I spent my life hating my mother.
Right.
And just thinking that everything that was happening in my life and to me was wrong and not okay. And here I was doing it to someone that I loved. And from my own perspective, like, I was being fun or I was being cute or I was teasing or whatever, but it's never really about what you're doing. It's about how it's affecting the person that you're doing it to.
How it's received.
Exactly. And
go ahead.
I was just going to say that to answer your question, essentially what I did is I told my husband to come here and I said, look at this. I need you to read this article. And he read it and I was just like, I don't want to be this person anymore.
Right.
And I am so sorry. And I had no idea that this is what I was doing to you too. And I need help because I was raised with this being normal.
Right.
I don't know how else to exist. I don't know how else to have a relationship. So when you see these things, and we wrote a list of all the ones that applied to me, we put it on the fridge. I was like, when you see these things happen, I need you to call me out. I need you to call me on my shit and say like, hey, you're doing this one. So I can just take a step back and assess and think, okay, what is prompting this behavior right now?
Right.
Like, what is my intention? Because this behavior is likely not aligning with my intention. Because I'm not borderline. I'm not a narcissist. And my intentions were to bond. And I had just learned how to bond with people with certain behaviors from this person.
How does a person know they're not a narcissist? Because you think the first one to think you're not a narcissist is a narcissist.
I don't think anyone should be diagnosing themselves.
Interesting. Okay. So for someone to question that and to try and come up with an answer, you're saying that's not the right way to go about it.
Don't diagnose yourself. Don't diagnose your loved ones. you're doing yourself no favors. You're doing them no favors. If something's not working for you, just call it what it is. Just say like, this behavior is not working for me, and try and fix that behavior. And if the person won't fix that behavior and it's hurting you, then you need to walk away.